Well, yeah, there is a lot of secularism going on, and there is a lot of women's organizations, nuns who want to become priests. These are all things that we grew up knowing that they are contrary to the Catholic faith. How do you see your organization in relation to all these other groupings that have mushroomed within the last 15, 20 years?
I think part of what's different about us is, and I have great admiration for the group Women for Faith and Family, and they are a national group, but we decided to deal with problems on a local level. I don't know whether our group will end up going national or not. We have people on our mailing list from many states around the country, but at present our focus is to try to teach people in small doses the faith, and to also poke fun at those who are trying to undermine the faith, dissenting groups like Call to Action. So our newsletter is funny. We just began publishing a newsletter in January, and we're using satire as a weapon to poke fun at those whose ideas are really loony. I mean, they're easy to satirize because the truth is very straightforward. The lie is ridiculous, and if you can poke fun at the lie, you can really show how puffed up and arrogant those who are trying to destroy the faith are, and that's what we've done. So we went to a Call to Action meeting that was held, unfortunately, at a Catholic church in our diocese, the Diocese of Arlington, and the head of Call to Action of Northern Virginia had us all arrested for basically just for asking questions, for saying, by whose authority are you meeting in this church? And where's the pastor? Did the pastor give you permission? They had police officers waiting when we arrived at the meeting, and as soon as we began to ask questions or began praying the rosary, they had us arrested. Teresa was manhandled by a Loudoun County police officer, and she was the only one of 8 who was handcuffed upon her arrest. We had no intention of going to that meeting to be arrested. We went to defend the faith. But neither will we shy away from those kinds of situations where, if in standing up for the faith, we're going to have to deal with this kind of injustice.
What is the attitude of the clergy towards your organization within your own diocese?
I'd say we're getting a mixed reaction. We are sending our newsletter, because one of our primary purposes is to have a chilling effect on dissent. And we have a reputation of being a very orthodox diocese, but we have our own pocket of and group of liberal pastors. We have at least a few directors of religious education who are either members of CTA or are sympathizers, and we're getting an interesting reaction because we have a number of priests. We're sending this out to all the priests, whether they subscribe to it or not. We've had a number of priests subscribe. We've had a number who have said kind of quietly to us that they support what we're doing. They think it's long overdue, and they're glad that we're out front starting to expose the light on these things.
Someone is going to raise a question and say, wait a minute, what gives you the authority to say that we are not doing a good job and you know better than we do? What is it that you can really bring out to our viewers and listeners that the present approach to teaching our faith is wrong? What are some of the outstanding sins, in quote, that you can say are being done by these present teachers in our schools and churches?
Well, it's very, I think, easy, first of all, to say that if a group is standing up and is presenting ideas that are contrary to the long-established teachings of the Church, for example, against the Pope's recent statement that ordination of women is out of the question because he doesn't have authority to allow it. And when you have a group that says, I don't care what the Pope says, we demand ordination of women, it's clear that that group is off limits.
So your group is opposed to the demand of ordinating women as priests?
As in the Church.
Absolutely. The Pope has said that it's not allowed. It's been declared that as the unchanging tradition of the Church, it's an infallible teaching, and the door is closed on that.
Mm-hmm.
And a group that demands that they're still going to make an issue of it, which Call to Action does, has put themselves outside the Church as far as we're concerned. They are preaching a heretical viewpoint. This group, though, also stands for, they want to bring unfaithful priests back in. So priests who have left their vows and married outside the Church, they want to reinstate them as priests. They want the sexual ethics that the Church teaches to be an open question, because they want contraception, they want abortion, they want to recognize gay relationships. Their national conference has just about every dissenter, well-known dissenters, as their primary speakers. So they frequently have Charlie Curran, who was working against the sexual teachings of the Church for years. They have Matthew Fox, who was kicked out of the, I believe, the Dominicans because of his New Age philosophies, who even had a witch on his Organization for Creation Spirituality, his institute. I think it's called the Institute for Creation Spirituality, which is a New Age group that is focusing on goddess worship. I mean, if you look at these groups, and this book, Ungodly Rage, exposes them very well, they're loony. I mean, they espouse every kind of fringe idea that is totally contrary to the Catholic faith. So we stand with the faith. Our first two principles of our group are to defend the authentic truth as taught by the Catholic Church, and then to defend the family, and to encourage the sacramental life and the life of prayer that Our Lady of Fatima promoted in 1917 when she appeared to the three little children at Fatima, Portugal.
Well, you have mentioned the word the family. This is now a very hot issue, especially in light of the political developments going on in the country. What is your position about the family?
Well, we stand with the Church. The Church has called the family the domestic church. It's the first catechism class. When mom delivers that baby in the hospital, that training for the faith begins. In fact, even before, that child is going to church with mother in the womb. That child is hearing the prayers and the hymns at Mass all through the 9 months of the mother's pregnancy. And it's not mommy and daddy. It's mommy and daddy with that child that they've created, raising that child in the faith. Now, sometimes you have unfortunate situations where you'll have a single parent raising a child, but no one should ever pretend that a gay couple can be parents to a child. It's absolutely outside the bounds of what God intended, and it's a terrible scandal to any poor child who is put in that kind of an unfortunate situation. But we want to strengthen the domestic church, and part of the way that we're going to do that is through our newsletter by teaching the faith in small doses. We include a section that has quotes from the saints and Vatican II and from church documents, but in small doses, because many parents are never going to be able to wade through large numbers of church documents. But if we can feed it to them in small doses, people will be learning the faith in an easier way.
Well,